All right, good evening. I'm calling to order the Concord Township Board of Trustees meeting for March 2nd, 2022. Would you all join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Mrs. Dawson, roll call, please.
Mr. Dondorfer.
Present.
Mr. McIntosh.
Present.
Mrs. Lucci.
Present. So we have some very important people to introduce and recognize this evening.
Yep.
Thank you for being here. Welcome to the Morrison family and Mr. Zarin. Mr. McIntosh, would you like to say a few words about the foundation and Mr. Zarin's part?
Sure. Well, tonight we're here to recognize a Concord resident, but presenting an award is Mr. Eric Zarin, who currently serves as the president and secretary of the Carnegie Hero Foundation. It's a Pittsburgh-based foundation that recognizes civilian heroism. He's served as president since June of 2017. Prior to that, served as executive director until in 2016, and has been a member of the board since 2015. Mr. Zarin retired from the U.S. Secret Service in May of 2016 following a 25-year career as a special agent. Amongst things that he served as special agent in charge of the Pittsburgh field office from 2010 until his retirement in 2016. He had multiple assignments in the Secret Service, including the Newark field office, and served in the Presidential Protection Division, protecting President Clinton and President George W. Bush, and served as resident attaché in charge in Berlin. He's a graduate at Indiana University of Pennsylvania and University of London, also having studied in Germany. The Hero Fund was established by Carnegie in 1904, and a Carnegie Medal has been awarded to 10,000 individuals in recognition of outstanding heroism in the act of saving lives. They have given out grants totaling more than $40 million have been given to benefit awardees and their survivors, to include scholarship aid and continuing assistance and death benefits. So thank you for being here this evening.
It's amazing. Yeah, I also think it's important just to touch base on what the Commission's working definition of a hero is, as well as the requirements for the award. The candidate for an award must be a civilian who voluntarily risks his or her life to an extraordinary degree while saving or attempting to save the life of another person. The rescuer must have no full measure of responsibility for the safety of the victim. There must be conclusive evidence to support the act's occurrence, and the act must be called to the attention of the Commission within 2 years. Pretty amazing.
So Shane, we have been thinking about this for a long time, and we would like to recognize you. Mr. Rose, can you please read our letter?
Well, is there a medal presentation? We'll probably do that first, Madam Chair, and then we can do the proclamation immediately following.
Okay. All right, then we can.
Come on up.
Thank you so much for having us here today. We're truly honored to join you here, and thank you all for being here in addition to regular township business to honor our most recent Carnegie hero, Shane Morrison. Thank you to the trustees for having us. Appreciate it very much. You did a great job laying out some of the thinking behind the fund and some of the history of the fund itself. You mentioned that Andrew Carnegie established it in 1904. So for 118 years, we've been doing three essential things: recognizing civilian heroism in the U.S. and Canada, supporting those heroes in a number of different ways, and also equally as important to our cause is to tell the story of what these heroes did for other people. You mentioned the requirements for the award. Of the hundreds of cases the Commission examines every year, only about 10% are ultimately awarded, and 20% of our medals are awarded posthumously to those who lost their lives in their efforts to save another person. Awardees of the Carnegie Medal come from all different backgrounds: racial, ethnic, religious, socio-economic backgrounds, but they have one thing in common, and that is in a moment of truth when lives were in peril, that they made that split-second decision to risk their own lives on behalf of another individual. Really what we recognize through the Carnegie Medal is a moral choice made by the rescuer in that moment. That choice changes lives. It changes the lives of the rescuer, of the rescued party, and others who may be inspired to act in behalf of others, as Shane did. In a sense, our heroes take a heartbeat oath in a moment of intensity with real life, long-lasting, sometimes final consequences. And it binds the rescuer to accept whatever outcome stems from their willingness to trade their life for another. So Shane certainly embodies Carnegie's ideal and the very best of human nature, our innate ability to selflessly put another's life above our own without obligation or thoughts of our own well-being. So with that said, I'd like to read the official act of what Shane actually did to be considered for recognition by the Hero Fund Commission. Shane Morrison helped to rescue Donovan Conwell from drowning, Mentor, Ohio, on June 24th, 2020. Donovan, 13, was swimming in Lake Erie when he had difficulty returning to the rock breakwater from which he had entered the water. Shane, 15, a high school student, was atop the breakwater with friends when he saw Donovan bobbing up and down in deep water about 200 feet northeast of the breakwater. Shane dived into the water, swam to Donovan, and grasped him from behind. A lengthy struggle ensued, during which Donovan submerged Shane repeatedly as Shane kept Donovan afloat in the water. Authorities arrived shortly in a boat, brought Shane and Donovan aboard, and took them to safety. Donovan, who had ingested water, received treatment at a hospital and recovered. Shane, nearly exhausted, also recovered. Shane, can I ask you to join me here just quickly? It's truly my honor and privilege on behalf of the Hero Fund Commission to present to you the Carnegie Medal for Civilian Heroism. Thank you.
Tilt it down just a smidge. Perfect. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, guys. Shane, congratulations. So now we would like to read our recognition letter. Mr. Rose, please.
Concord Township Proclamation for Shane Morrison. It is with great pleasure that the trustees of Concord Township extend their congratulations to Shane Morrison for attainment of North America's highest honor for civilian heroism, the Carnegie Medal. The Carnegie Medal is given throughout the U.S. and Canada to those who enter extreme danger while saving or attempting to save the lives of others. As of this date, a total of 10,273 Carnegie medals have been awarded since the Pittsburgh-based fund's inception in 1904. 15-year-old Shane Morrison of Concord Township, Ohio, was atop a rocky breakwater with friends on June 24th, 2020, when he noticed a younger boy drifting into deeper water in Lake Erie off of Mentor, Ohio. After shouting at the boy and receiving no response, Shane of Concord Township, Ohio, jumped in and swam to 13-year-old Donovan Conwell. Donovan had already struggled to remain afloat for several minutes, and as Shane approached, he panicked and submerged Shane repeatedly as Shane kept him afloat in the water. Shane attempted to swim back toward the breakwater, but he made little progress due to strong currents pulling them farther into the lake. Donovan was in and out of consciousness as Shane trod water. Authorities arrived in a boat, picked up the boys, and took them to safety. Donovan, who ingested water, received treatment at a hospital, and he recovered. Although nearly exhausted, Shane was not injured. Shane, we congratulate you on receiving the Carnegie Medal and for your act of heroism. Sincerely, the Concord Township Board of Trustees, Amy Lucci, Carl H. Dondorfer, and Morgan McIntosh. Thank you.
We're going to come down.
Yeah, I'll spin around so that I'll say this. Okay.
Sure.
The right.
Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. This is probably a good time if you're here for the Morrison presentation, unless you want to listen to wonderful Concord Township business, this is the perfect time to escape.
Yeah, thank
Thank you very much for coming.
Yes.
It's a pleasure
Thank you
to
very
meet
much.
Yes.
Have a great evening.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Great job.
Congratulations.
Okay, that's the way to start a meeting, I think.
Great way to start a meeting.
On a positive note. Okay, so we are moving on, and we are up to the approval of minutes.
Madam Chair, I would make a motion to approve the February 16th, 2022 regular trustee meeting minutes.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I'll make a motion to approve the February 23rd, 2022 special meeting minutes.
I'll second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
And it's time for our elected official reports. Our fiscal officer, Mrs. Dawson.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci. As of February 28th, we were 17% of the way through the calendar year. Treasury balance for the 20 funds within the Township Treasury was $15.3 million after posting the advance of the first half of the 2021 real estate taxes. The remainder of the funds will be received in March or early April. The Treasury balance includes $11.1 million in funds set aside for specific projects, including the fire stations. Year-to-date revenue is 17% of the annual revenue budget, and expenditures were 11% of the 2022 temporary appropriations, so we're very well within budget. We'll be asking the trustees tonight to vote on the 2022 permanent appropriations. We changed the appropriations workshop up a bit this year, and I appreciate the time that the department heads and the trustees put into it to make this a very successful evening. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to call my office, 440-354-7516. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mrs. Dawson. The trustees, Mr. Dondorfer.
Okay, I didn't have too many points this evening. I did have a couple issues of correspondence regarding some of the issues that came up in the zoning board meeting last night. So I did watch the zoning board meeting to educate myself on those issues. We had our appropriations workshop that I thought went very well as far as our responsibility to make sure that the department heads are on budget and the township is being fiscally responsible as far as entering this year. Excited about the Founders Day breakfast coming up next week to sort of really kick off the bicentennial. So that's happening next week. So I'm excited about that. Deb Esker and her group has done a lot of prepping for that, so that'll be great. It was nice to recognize, Shane this evening. What a act of extreme bravery, and I don't think there's any other greater act of heroism than saving a life and risking your own at the same time. So I'm sure that young man was in great peril if he didn't act the way he did. So that's just an amazing accomplishment. Other than that, I don't have anything.
All right, thank you. Mr. McIntosh.
It hasn't been, fairly busy actually doing a lot of stuff, but I haven't had a lot of conversation with residents. I did receive a request for a slowdown in a speeding sign in a neighborhood and a resident who made some requests with respect to property. And I want to thank Tim Brown, our service director, and Heather Freeman from the zoning department. Both of them interact with the resident, help me work through and get that issue done. I did have a complaint or question at one point about the traffic light at Prouty and Morley, which is the one where we added the left signal and all that. And I do know that there was some, I believe it came up, there's some reprogramming going involved, and there's some longer wait times. Mr. Rose, I think you brought that up.
Yes, sir.
But I've talked with some residents about that. We had our appropriations workshop, which was a really helpful experience. It was great getting together with the various department heads, talking about their budgets and having a really solid working understanding of the budgets. There's a lot that goes into the budget and planning for the township. Our fiscal officer does a fantastic job of keeping track of everything, and has been very helpful with us, this new board, as far as getting us on board with that. I know there's been some conversation on social media and some discussion about township finances and whatnot, and I think the heart of it, where we discussed last week, and just as a reminder to the community, those are public meetings, and that the trustees remain available to discuss that, and all that information is there's nothing secret about it, so it's out there for public consumption. And with as much conversation as we have about budgets and the projects, and we've got ARP funds that we're sort of discussing, I certainly want to be transparent about that. So I think that's important for the community to know what goes into that process. It's not a rubber stamp by any means. And then lastly, I was made aware that there are residents who are concerned about the request for rezone, which the zoning commission took up last night, and at some point will come before this board, but not this evening. I did already dialogue with a resident about some of their concerns or questions, so I've noted that. I haven't actually seen the plan myself because it hasn't come to us yet, so keeping those thoughts to myself. And what a great way to start the night with recognizing Shane. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't acknowledge that both myself and the law director were once lifeguards and can certainly appreciate the heroism involved in jumping into the water and swimming out after somebody. And to hear that there was drowning people can be pretty scary, and they can definitely take you down. So that took a lot of courage, and open water like that's not something to be taken lightly. So I congratulate him on that. So, and that concludes my report. Thank you.
All right, thank you very much. I know I kind of wanted to ask Shane, what was going through your mind when you saw someone in trouble and you just kind of went out there? I always find it so fascinating that people who do that kind of thing for a living, how they think, and just, what kind of person, what kind of values that they really have that make them able to do something like that. So it's pretty incredible. So as far as my report, same kind of thing here. Not much other than a few emails regarding the rezone from yesterday, which I need to look into more. We just had that yesterday with the zoning commission. Again, thank you to Mrs. Dawson and the department heads for our appropriations workshop. I thought it went very well, and I think it is very important to mention that, we place a lot of scrutiny in every single decision. We don't take anything lightly. Fiscal responsibility is very important. So, and yes, those meetings are open to the public. We're happy to have people listening on that as well. We had a staff meeting on Friday. We were updated on some of the department things that are going on. It's nice to see some work getting done across the street with the fire stations, so that's always wonderful to see. I'm also looking forward to our birthday festivities next week, and I think we have a legislative breakfast this Friday.
Friday, yes, ma'am.
Here's some things going on in the state. So with that, we will move on to our department reports. So our administration department, Andy Rose.
Thank you, Mrs. Lucci, members of the board, Mrs. Dawson, members of the audience, good evening. I'd just like to start with one item on the agenda to cover, which is item C. This is a resolution related to ARPA funds. When the U.S. Treasury Department issued their final rules, they included language that allows political subdivisions, ourselves included, to allocate what's called a standard allowance, which is not to exceed $10 million or up to the amount you've received, that if it's below $10 million. In ARPA funds, this resolution authorizes the township to utilize funds within the final rule guidelines as a standard allowance. That standard allowance gives us some flexibility on how funds can be allocated within the established Treasury rules. So I encourage passage of resolution number 7 at the appropriate time. I'm finishing up the annual TIF and CRA, that's Tax Increment Financing and Community Reinvestment Act reports. Those are due to the state by March 15th. We will be early. And then a little bit of a sad note, and I'm going to change up how I give my report, and I'm going to ask Chief to come up to the lectern. And then I will finish my report. But on February 22nd, I received a resignation letter, and Chief and I talked, and we felt it was appropriate to read it on the record. And then I'll finish my report when Chief is done.
Thank you, Mr. Rose. On February 22nd, 2022, I received a letter that I'll read as follows. Dear Chief Sabo, who would have thought that a firefighting career of 4 decades would go by so quickly? I started with Concord Township Fire Department right after high school in 1982 as a volunteer part-time firefighter, promoted to full-time firefighter in 1988, promoted to shift lieutenant in 1996, promoted to shift captain in 2005, and promoted to Deputy Fire Chief in 2009. I cannot express enough the amount of gratitude that I have for all of the Board of Trustees, fiscal officers, Town Hall administrative staff, Service Department, Recreation and Zoning staff, previous and current, for the great working relationships we had that gave us the ability to serve the residents of our community with high standards. Most importantly, I have to thank all of the firefighters and fire officers of Concord Township for keeping me safe and secure so I could go home after each shift to my family. Every one of those firefighters passed on to me their brilliant education, words of wisdom, tricks of the trade, lessons learned, and so much more that gave me the strength to grow as a firefighter and fire officer. They were truly the foundation of my career. My father told me many years ago when I started, never go past a fire and never forget where you came from. I followed that advice wholeheartedly, and I passed that same advice on to all of our firefighters. The time has come to bring my career with Concord Township Fire Department to a closure. I'm officially announcing my retirement effective June 16th, 2022. I plan to use all of my skills and knowledge that I have gained from the community of Concord Township with my future plans of employment, such as officer development and promotion, emergency management, and critical preparedness in both the public and private setting. Thank you, Concord Township, for an amazing career. Signed, Deputy Fire Chief Ron Terriaco.
So based on Deputy Chief Terriaco's, it's really not a resignation letter, it's a
Notice of
notification of retirement.
Right.
But I accepted on behalf of the Township Trustees his letter, and that's been placed in his personnel file effective for June 16th of 2022, but I thought that letter was fantastic and I wanted it to be captured on the record, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
And we'll
Thanks,
have many opportunities in the coming months, and it'll be expressed over and over again. But we are so grateful. I'm personally grateful for the leadership and dedication that he has brought to bear in Concord Township Fire Department, and the legacy left by his dad, Chief Richard Terriaco. And so you think of all the collective years that his family has dedicated to Concord Township, and not just in the fire department, but in the township in general. So we're eternally grateful and appreciative for the service of Ron, and wish him the best on his retirement. So, but we'll have more to come.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Chief.
And then finally, as I've been doing, because it's our bicentennial year, can you put that picture up for me, Rick? Our featured bicentennial picture for this meeting is a photo of Town Hall, which I thought was appropriate as our 200th birthday is less than a week away. I'm unsure of the exact date of the picture, but it was certainly taken prior to the 1973 additions. Town Hall was built in 1870. It has been in continuous use as the meeting place for our trustees to conduct business. And it should be noted, the floors and the structural beams underneath and in the roof, they're original from 1870. I applaud all the previous boards and administration for doing their very best to maintain this wonderful building that we still meet in today. And I know Deb Esker is going to cover it in greater detail, but I am looking forward to all of the birthday festivities coming up next week. And that concludes my report. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Rose. Our fire department, Chief Sabo, again.
All right. Thank you. For the month of February, we responded to 221 events. We had 151 EMS events with 126 transports. We had 70 non-EMS events and 11 fire events. Inside of Concord, we had 3 fires, 2 residential, 1 vehicle. And outside of Concord, we had a total of 8, including 4 residential, 2 residential chimney fires, and 2 business fires. We gave mutual aid 26 times and received mutual aid 9 times. And we had 67 overlapping calls, accounting for just over 30% of our call volume were overlapping last month. The Bureau was out and completed 42 inspections, accounting for about 76 hours. They did 4 plan reviews, accounting for about 12 hours, and they did a fire investigation in Painesville Township, or assisted in a fire investigation in Painesville Township. In the education side of things, they completed 4 hours for EMS and fire safety training for 6 staff members of an assisted living center. So we're happy to be back out and providing that valuable training to our businesses in Concord. If anybody should feel free to reach out and ask us if they're looking for additional education. Some construction updates from the fire prevention standpoint. Ordinance Technology Services on Wellness Way may be extending its renovations, working on replacing all the windows, and have supply chain issues with other materials. Accurate Landscaping is nearing its completion, and Randpack renovation of the offices are underway and working on sprinkler system update. So all these construction projects, the Fire Bureau is out and assisting our businesses in their transitions and in their projects to make sure that they're fire safe and well on their way to being successful. Last week I had the pleasure of attending the basic public information officer class presented by FEMA. It was held at the Emergency Operations Center here in Lake County, so I am officially a public information officer. So,
Wonderful. Great job.
That in mind.
right.
Mr. Felton would like to talk to you after the meeting.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. We did have the opportunity to interact with some media. Channel 19 joined us, and as well as I think Channel 5. So we had those opportunities, and so it was a good class, very valuable. Just this afternoon, I returned from the Ohio Fire Chiefs Association Winter Symposium. This symposium is the Fire Chiefs in Ohio's opportunity to meet with our legislators and discuss topics that are important to us in the fire service. This year we focused on House Bill 545, including peer support. House Bill 304 is in regards to smoke alarms. House Bill 138, EMS law updates, some things to help the EMS personnel out in the field when encountered with a do not resuscitate order. And House Bill 225 and Senate Bill 38 regarding volunteer firefighter tax credits. So we had the opportunity to sit down with Senator Serino and have some good dialogue with him and educate him and loop him in on some of the issues that are faced in the fire service in Ohio. Our township is seeing not only a surge in commercial construction, but residential as well. As March weather improves, we may be out driving or walking through these construction areas. Our safety tip for this month focuses on your safety in these construction areas. So, Rick, please. So first, we urge you to stay focused. Avoiding a construction site zone altogether is the safest option. Keep your eye out for posted warnings. And we can't stress this enough. Pay attention. Put down that cell phone. Move through the area as quickly and safely as possible. In addition, as a pedestrian, always watch your step for uneven pavement in the muddy, wet, and often icy in this time of the year, areas that are slippery. Other vehicles passing through the construction zone put pedestrians at risk. Put me back, Rick. There we go. Protecting workers is also protecting yourself. Make sure equipment operators can see you. Make eye contact with the operator before you move through that work area. There we go. We urge you to move over early. Lane closures do not only occur with road construction, but construction of new homes within the township have caused some periodic road blockages. We urge you to be patient, and everyone will get through and get to where they're going. Slow down and follow lane closure directions when approaching any type of construction area. So, and again, I would like to congratulate Shane on his achievement. Certainly not an award that you planned for. As a first responder myself, we're trained and prepared for those events. I could only imagine, I cannot imagine what was going through his mind in a spontaneous situation that he had to make a split-second decision, and that recognition is well-deserved. So congratulations to Shane and his family for that. So thank you.
Thanks, Chief.
Thank you, Chief. Next, we have our Service Department, Mr. Tim Brown.
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Service Department in the month of February responded to 17 call-outs for snow and ice conditions. Crews applied approximately 1,300 tons of salt this past month. The Equipment Maintenance Department handled several minor repairs of the snowplow fleet and kept the equipment in service throughout the snow events. Our other crew activities performed by the department were 42 repairs to mailboxes, snow removal from cul-de-sacs, 3 burials in the cemetery, pothole patching, and road evaluations for the upcoming repair season. Once the weather breaks, crews will be out making sod damage repairs throughout the township. The administrator and I met with representatives from the Lake County Stormwater Department to discuss current stormwater projects and update the plans for future stormwater projects within the township. Stormwater Department representatives have agreed to come to the second April trustee meeting to provide information and clarification of maintenance responsibilities to detention ponds, retention ponds, easements, and other stormwater features. The Service Department reminds residents that with any questions or concerns to contact us at 440-350-3225 or by email at concordtwp.com under Service Department. Thank you very much. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Mr. Brown.
Thank you.
Next, we have our Zoning Department, Mrs. Freeman.
Good evening.
Good evening.
So during the month of February, the zoning department approved 20 zoning permit applications for various projects. Of those permits, 7 were for new single-family homes. Additionally, 1 was for a new business that's going to be located at the Crowd Crossing Shopping Center. I believe their sign is already up, so you might have seen it. Wolfgang Bakery and Grooming, which is a pet store that apparently the owners bake special cookies and treats for dogs, so that'll be a nice asset to that shopping center over there. Residents may also be noticing some additional construction happening because this is the time of the year, specifically over on Auburn Road. There are currently a couple of medical office buildings that are underway. Additionally, some trees have been cleared out over on a site located on Discovery Lane for a new manufacturing business who is going to be submitting to the township for their approvals. And then just a reminder for some of our residents, with spring coming up soon, you're probably going to be start thinking about possibly some home improvement projects that you might have, renovations or other additions to your home or property. Just a reminder to keep that a lot of those projects do require zoning permits, such as an addition to your house or a deck, shed, swimming pool, fence, or some other accessory building or structure. And that you should contact the zoning department prior to installing those improvements, and we can advise you on what the regulations are. Also, some of those projects might also require a separate building permit from the Lake County Building Department. So I encourage residents to reach out to zoning department staff, or also we have a lot of information sheets on our website. If you go to concordtwp.com, click on zoning permits, there are several information sheets that give you much of the information that you might need in helping to plan for those projects. And then just finally, next week's Board of Zoning Appeals meeting has actually been canceled due to no applications. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Thanks, Doug.
Thank you very much. Our Recreation Department, Mrs. Esker.
Good evening, everybody.
Good
And happy
evening.
birthday, Concord Township.
Whoop, whoop.
March is a very special month for us. Not only is it Trustee Amy Lucci's birthday month, but also March 8th, 2022, I snuck that in there, is Concord Township's 200th birthday.
39.
March 8th is our day, 200 years in the making. It'll be a day filled with coming together in celebration and honoring our township and its people. We've got a lot of celebrating to do, and I am here to tell you about it. Please, Rick, fire up my PowerPoint. Thank you very much. This month's short lesson in Concord history honors our Articles of Establishment. Before Concord was created, our land was part of Geauga County, and at a March 8, 1822 town hall meeting ordered by Geauga County Commissioners, Concord Township was officially formed. One paragraph from our Article of Establishment from 1822 states, in the eloquent language of the day, "The petition of sundry inhabitants of the Township of Painesville being presented to the Auditor of the County of Geauga in the State of Ohio, praying that the south part of said township be set off and evicted into a separate township by the name of Concord, that the qualified electors meet at the dwelling house of John Carroll on the first Monday of April next for the purpose of electing township officers for the Township of Concord aforesaid." I love reading the actual language in the articles. Those first township officers were Benjamin Blish, Scribner Huntoon, and Erastus Merrill. You'll recognize those names as roads. And so our story begins. And now a brief message from our 55 plus group. Happy birthday, Concord! I love that. Founders Day on March 8th is filled with celebrations. On the morning of March 8th, that'll be dedicated to a small gathering for proclamations, resolutions, letters of congratulations, but the afternoon is dedicated to Concord residents. We invite residents to drive through the community center parking lot between 2 and 4 p.m. to receive their free birthday treat. And then all are invited to stop by the Old Stone School between 5:30 and 7 p.m. for birthday cake and a personal guided tour of the schoolhouse, which is Concord's only museum and repository of historical archives. So all are invited to get their free birthday cake, cupcake and free birthday cake at the Old Stone School for a birthday party. We hope Concord residents join in our 200th birthday celebration. March 8th is not only our Founders Day, but also the next blood drive at the community center. Give the gift of life and sign up to donate at www.redcrossblood.org. The drive will take place between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m. at the community center. The blood shortage continues, and your donation can save up to 3 lives, so please consider donating. We've got compelling selection of leisure classes offered at the community center in March. Classes include gentle morning yoga, yoga Pilates fusion, martial arts for adults and kids, Tai Chi, stained glass flowers, American Mahjong, a mixed media collage class, several make and take classes including body butter and soaps, sound bath and gong meditation is back, and we start our Baton for Kids class. There's something for everyone. Residents and guests are welcome to register for classes online or simply call the Recreation Department for personal assistance. Our next Library Tuesday program is going to be a fun one. Staff from the Morley Library will teach guests how to paint using colorful bubbles, creating note cards, gift tags, and more paper crafts. Library Tuesday programs are free and open to the public, and new friends are always welcome. Just call the Recreation Department to reserve your seat. So we are amping up our senior socials this year and hosting 4 socials a month. At the senior social earlier today, Dan Maxon and I did a presentation to our 55 plus group on some history of Concord Township contained in our Images of America book. But our next senior social is Wednesday, March 9th, when guests will decorate little planter pots with a bicentennial theme, complete with complimentary zinnia seedlings to take home and nurture and grow. And then on March 16th, we welcome back Cleveland historian Dennis Sutcliffe. He is a fan favorite. He'll present hometown rockers of the 60s and 70s and talk about the fascinating stories of rock and roll stars who are from Ohio and made it to the big time. And then our monthly bingo is back on March 23rd. Are you feeling lucky? Then Lucky Bingo is for you. We'll have snacks and prizes and special recognition for the wearing of the green. Our senior socials take place on Wednesday afternoons and begin at 1 p.m. They're free, open to the public, and we always welcome new friends. We just ask that you call us to reserve your seat for planning purposes. And there's a lot to love about Concord Township. We invite everyone to enjoy the stunningly beautiful photos entered in our Love Concord photo contest and vote for your favorites, but not until March 4th. So March 4th through March 18th, the link to voting will be live on www.concordtwp.com. Winners will be announced after March 24th, and trophies will be awarded. And you know who else loves Concord Township? Our paramedics.
Happy birthday, Concord!
They were at the community center for some training, and it was lovely to have them in the building. Join local authors Dan Maxon and myself at the Old Stone School on Wednesday, March 9th from 3 to 4:30 p.m. for an informal lecture on Concord history and personal guided tours of the charming Old Stone School. We'll have the Images of America book available for sale, and we'll be happy to sign copies on site. Check out all the groups and clubs that meet regularly at the community center, from gardening to music to cards to art to sewing and now to trivia. There are a lot of opportunities to meet new friends, and new members are always welcome. Just contact the recreation office about joining a club and start your new adventure. And speaking of community, there's a great opportunity to support ours. We encourage Concord businesses as well as residents to consider donating to fund bicentennial programs and events or becoming a bicentennial sponsor. Help us make this year's programming the best it can be by making a donation or contributing to an event. In return, businesses will be recognized in the Grapevine, the e-Grapevine, on our website and social media platforms, and individuals and families will be mentioned in the Grapevine as well as on a banner at Community Day. And we'll also have a special banner for in memoriam donations. So thanks in advance for everybody's kind consideration of contributing to help make bicentennial events really great. And this month's Random Acts of Kindness report, let's give a shout out to people like Lana Blatnick-Frischkorn, who continue to share beloved family photos and memorabilia with us so we can continue to add to Concord's history archives. And we shout out to our 55 plus members who come to senior bingos because they stay and they clean up the room. Kudos. Let's give a shout out to people like Betty Leiby and Karen and Harold Abraham, who have already made personal donations to support bicentennial programming, and to our garden club, whose kind creativity shines through when they volunteer to plant petunias at our cemetery in the shape of a heart. There's no shortage of kindness in Concord Township, and that is always worth celebrating. You know who else likes to celebrate? The recreation staff. I love those guys so much, so much. So happy birthday, Trustee Lucci. Happy 200th birthday, Concord Township. And thank you to our dedicated trustees and fiscal officer for making all of our celebrations possible this year. And I'd like to end my report with just one more final happy birthday message.
Happy birthday, Concord.
Well done.
That was good.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, Deb. Well done.
Nice.
Thank you.
Well done.
Looking forward to all this great stuff, and spring is finally coming, so all good. Appreciate it.
Be a snowstorm on Friday thanks to that.
Well, we got to have one more. Okay. It's time for our law enforcement report. Sergeant, thank you.
You gotta love following rec, don't you?
It's tough, man.
It is tough. I'm like, it's like a downer sometimes. Good evening. I am going to try to get Concord the day of the drive-through so I can get some treats for free. But, you know.
A couple in your pocket, right?
For the month of February, the Sheriff's Office responded to 887 calls for service. 5 of those were injury accidents. 13 were property damage accidents involving a vehicle. We had a female arrested for OVI and a female arrested for felony theft. A juvenile arrested for inducing panic and aggravated menacing at Lamouth. A male arrested for possession of narcotics. Another male arrested for domestic violence and assault. A male arrested for receiving stolen property in a stolen vehicle. A female arrested for possession of narcotics and tampering with evidence. An adult male arrested for domestic violence. And a juvenile female arrested for underage consumption, disorderly conduct, resisting arrest, and harassment. We responded to 50 alarms of residents and businesses. We issued 13 citations for traffic violations. We issued 108 warnings for said traffic violations as well. Checked 65, did 65 business checks and 45 crime prevention cards. 0 ATV complaints, 0 breaking and entering to structures, and 0 burglary complaints for Concord for the month of February. Of the 887 calls for service, 29 were suspicious circumstance vehicles or persons, 15 traffic complaints, and 20 welfare checks. During the month, I conducted a informational meeting at Hope Ridge Church with a female community group on female protection and safety out in the public and at home. Also, I'm meeting with a senior community group at the Concord Community Center coming up here in the next week. And also we'll be meeting with the Rock Dove Homeowners Association early April. If your community or your association or HOA would like to have more information or have me visit you during some of your quarterly meetings, please contact me, Sergeant Gerald Enthalvey of the Lake County Sheriff's Office. My phone number is 440-350-5598. And if you look on the website, on our Sheriff's Office website, you'll find my email address too, jenthalvey@lakecountyOhio.gov. I had the pleasure of seeing Shane's award ceremony at the Coast Guard Station, United States Coast Guard Station in Fairport as well. Really impressive young man. I had a chance to talk to him a little bit. Just like the Shane there, our very own Shane at the Lake County Sheriff's Office, Shane Hopp, who's also a Concord resident, like many of our deputies are, received a life-saving award as well. And I'm just going to touch base on that. On Monday, November 9th, 2021, while on routine patrol in Concord Township, Deputy Shane Hopp was advised that Concord Township Fire and Rescue was dispatched to Hunting Lake Drive for a male that had been injured by a saw. Since he was immediately in the immediate area, Deputy Shane Hopp responded to the call within minutes. First on scene, Deputy Hopp observed the male lying on the ground in the front yard of the home with another person attending to him. The injured person had a very large laceration to the upper right thigh caused by the saw. The person assisting him was trying to use a belt to stop the bleeding. Deputy Hopp took his tourniquet off his belt. Every deputy has a tourniquet that they wear. Applied it to the middle of his leg and stopped the bleeding. Upon arrival, Concord Fire and EMS took over, found that the tourniquet Deputy Hopp applied was key in stopping the extensive bleeding and possibly saved the man's life. The male was flown by AirMed to a trauma center where he was treated and later released. Lieutenant Zachary Ropus wrote in the commendation to Deputy Hopp, Deputy Hopp, having a high level of training, situational awareness, and calm demeanor, handled the potentially life-threatening situation with care until EMS arrived. Several Concord Township EMS personnel contacted Lieutenant Ropus as well as stating Deputy Hopp's actions undoubtedly prevented further injury and saved the man's life. It is also important to note that after applying the tourniquet and EMS arriving on scene, Deputy Hopp simply cleared the call. We would not have been aware of the critical nature of his assistance at the scene if it were not for the fire department contacting his superiors to inform him what he did on scene. So we congratulate Deputy Hopp on that as well.
Nice.
Also, I had a chance to stop through some of the neighborhoods before the meeting today. I saw a lot of people out walking in the neighborhoods, which is nice to see. It's a welcome sight. Spring's just around the corner. So a good time to tell you, and everybody was, which was great, walk against traffic, especially at night, and ride your bikes with traffic. And then if it's still dark out right now, when you're out walking in the nice cool air, so wear reflective clothing so people can see you.
Sorry, one question as far as the stats for the month. I know there was what was it, 2 or 3 stolen vehicles from the township? Not our township, but within other townships in Lake County this month.
Yes, so that originally, it was actually Painesville City in the Heisley Park. So we did assist in those situations, and we were able to, and there were maybe 1 or 2 vehicles within the Painesville Township also. But we were able to recover those, and we were able to take some of the parties into custody. As of right now, Concord has not had any issues with that. What we're finding is, and in the past, these particular groups are staying close by to the freeway where there's easy access in and off.
Right.
Luckily, 90 is a little bit more rural than Route 2. Route 2, for some reason, they're attracted to Route 2 more. So we're hoping it stays that way. Months and months and months, a couple years past, I think we had maybe one instance off of 44 and Johnny Cake, but that was it.
So it's my understanding these individuals are from out of the area. It's probably a good time just to remind residents that my understanding is these vehicles are left unlocked, keys in the vehicle, in the driveway. It's a good time to sort of tell our residents, you know,
Oh, absolutely.
this stuff's going on. You know, it's important to lock your car, take your keys in with you, and report any type of suspicious activity. I saw some of the camera footage. It looked like these individuals were canvassing up and down residential streets, walking around. So it's you know, you got to be vigilant and report any type of suspicious activity or things to law enforcement immediately.
They absolutely do. And follow our social media, our Facebook page. We also have a phone app, Lake County or lake.co.lc Sheriff's Office. For Apple and Androids, we do post alerts, we post information, we post things that people should be looking out for, and in situations that we are finding that are occurring within the townships that we want to resolve. I did put a posting out about that. One of the residents, because we have kind residents around here, actually did pick up a suspect in that and took him to the get-go. So he was out in the morning. So if you see people that you don't think belong in your neighborhood, or if they're out at a time that is suspicious, call us. That's why we were there. You can just call 911. You don't have to search for a non-emergency number. It goes to all the same place. We would rather be notified than not, even if it is something that is not of a criminal nature. And please do not pick up people that you don't know. I know it's nice. Call us again. We will get those people to where they need to be, or we will make arrangements for them.
Thanks, Sergeant.
Great, thank you for all that helpful information, and it's nice to hear another story about a heroic individual.
Yeah.
And I think I just would like to say, I think our thoughts and prayers are with the people of Ukraine, and I think we have a lot of heroes in that part of the nation,
yeah,
so I sort of feel inclined to mention that this evening.
Good point. Very good point.
Okay, so we will move on to our audience portion. Are there any members of the audience that would like to speak with us today? Yes, would you please come to the podium? Just say your name and your address, please, ma'am.
My name's Anita Ferguson. I'm at 11236 Wood Duck Avenue. And my concern is that we have a lot of noise from the traffic on 44 and on 90. And I would like to know if there's something that Concord could do to put the barriers up or something to alleviate that noise. Where we're located, we're right in the center of the two highways, and up on our ridge is backs up right against the freeway, and it's quite loud, and it goes on all night, of course.
All right.
Madam Chair, I am having a meeting. Bob Parker, our consulting engineer, is setting it up. I'm having a meeting with ODOT in April. I will bring that to the table with the district director of District 12 of ODOT and find out what the procedures are and the criteria to put walls up. I don't know that they'll do it, but I'll certainly find out. But that is an ODOT responsibility, but we can certainly advocate for the neighborhood.
Okay, appreciate that.
Yes, ma'am.
And that's going to be in April, you said?
I have a meeting, I don't know what day, but we're supposed to have a meeting in April.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Ferguson. Anyone else in the audience that would like to speak? And there's no one on the phone, correct?
No, ma'am, there's no one on the phone.
Okay, so then we will move on to old business, and seeing that there is none, we will move to the new business section.
Okay, Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve the February financial report.
I will second.
And all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I move to approve a resolution 2022-06, the permanent appropriations as driven from our workshop last week.
I'll second.
Any discussion?
Sure, I'd be happy to. So what I have before the trustees this evening is a $24,036,550 budget. It's the first such permanent appropriations. They have to be approved by the 1st of April, or your temporary appropriations, which are 3 months worth of appropriations, become what you get for the rest of the year until you change it. So our normal budget is between $12 and $13 million. Clearly, the main reason for this and the main reason for the purchase orders being at over $11 million is because Fire Station 1, we're in the middle of that project, and also we, the trustees at the last meeting, approved the summer road program. So while it appears that we certainly have a lot of money, it is moving fast, and we are paying on a monthly basis the contractors and the everybody who is involved with the large project that our residents I'm grateful for the fact that our residents are supporting us in the fire department with this new addition. So it's moving along, and that's one of the reasons for such a large amount of appropriations this year. So they will, I will probably approach the trustees again in another month or two once I get all of my permanent revenue figures in. I will revise the revenue, in which case we'll also revise the permanent appropriations, which is the spending portion of our budget at that point in time. But this will get us through the next couple of months. So
Thank you.
Okay. Anything else?
No.
I do want to say thank you to you and the department heads for helping us with that whole process. That was wonderful. You're amazing, Mrs. Dawson. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Madam Chair, I will make a motion to approve Resolution 2022-07, authorizing expenditures from the American Rescue Plan Act funds.
And I have second that.
Any discussion?
No.
So
I
can
think we
you
covered that.
just clarify that this
Sure.
is a standard allocation allowance. We
is
have a
the-
couple years to do the actual expenditures.
Yes, ma'am. When the interim rules came out from Treasury, there was a lot of gnashing of teeth because it was so restrictive, and it would be difficult for many political subdivisions, cities, villages, townships to utilize that money properly to overcome the effects from COVID and going forward. So I think the township associations, Clout, which I'm on the board of, all the various township associations, municipal leagues got together and worked through our elected officials, and it was nationwide. And so when Treasury issued their final rules, they for lack of a better term, they loosened the guardrails a little bit, and they've provided the ability where they recognize that every community was impacted by COVID. So they created what's called a standard allowance of $10 million, or up to the amount that you received if it's less than $10 million. And they opened that up to allow us to use those funds for government services, and they left some restrictions in place, which I frankly agree with, but we can use that for road and building maintenance, other infrastructure maintenance, health services, general government administration, staff, administrative facilities. You can do environmental remediation. You can do provisions of police, fire, and other public safety services, salaries, purchasing of fire trucks, police vehicles. You can do maintenance. You can do modernization of cybersecurity. We did chase that grant for water, which we were shut out of by the state. So it just opens up and gives us other options to utilize that money. And who better than to allocate the money than the local community, because every community's needs are a little bit different. Right. So I applaud the various associations throughout the state. We all worked together and pushed it through our respective senators and congressmen, and the change was done in Washington. So that's what this bill. But you have to pass a resolution. So due to the handy penmanship of Mr. Lucas, we now have this beautiful resolution before us. There's no need to blush, Mike. It's okay. But so I encourage passage of this resolution to give us the flexibility we need.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
I move to approve step increase for Service Department Administrative Assistant Susan Bobnar to $19.85 effective March 16th, 2022.
That would be per hour.
Oh, yeah.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I think item E.
Go ahead and read that.
Yeah, that's
Yep.
fine. We
Thank
voted
you.
on that.
So item E, we voted on at our staff meeting was the disposal of 2 laptops that are obsolete, unneeded, and or unfit for personal property of Concord Township. If I recall, those laptops were purchased in 2010. So, and the county will no longer support them. Mr. Dondorfer moved to approve the disposal of the 2 laptops that are obsolete, unneeded, and or unfit personal property of Concord Township. This is Lucci's seconded vote, 2 ayes.
Okay, thank you. And can you please read our future meetings and announcements?
Yes, thank you. Future meetings and announcements. On March 8th, happy birthday, 200th birthday, Concord Township. On the 9th, the previously scheduled Board of Zoning Appeals meeting at Town Hall has been canceled due to no applications. And on March 16th, Wednesday, March 16th, from 6:30 to 7:30 p.m., trustee office hours will be held in the conference room, and at 7:30 p.m., trustee meeting here at Town Hall.
Great.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So this concludes our meeting for Concord Township on March 2nd, 2022. Thank
Good
you.
evening, everyone. Thanks.